Hello buddies and welcome. Today we're trying out something a little different than our usual fare. Instead of playing video games, I'm going to be drawing a picture and discussing my process of doing art. Most of you probably don't know this, but I'm not just a guy who plays video games and records it to put on the internet, but I am also an illustrator. I've done portraits, caricatures, advertisements, game art. I've even illustrated a couple of children's books. So I wanted to make a new segment on Gamehole where I do art for you guys in a sped up manner. A speed painting segment. You've probably seen these on YouTube before. It's that same concept. I draw or paint something, record it, speed it up, then talk over it. Pretty simple, right? Also, strangely satisfying to watch. I've often found myself totally enraptured with speed arting videos in the past. I love them. So anyway, let's talk about what I'm drawing. I wanted to make a painting of Ahsoka from the Star Wars canon. She was in the Clone Wars and Rebels TV shows. She was Anakin Skywalker's apprentice during the Clone Wars. Before he turned bad, spoiler alert, he's Darth Vader! She was one of the most promising Jedi apprentices, destined to be one of the greats, until the Jedi betrayed her, and she left the Jedi Order. I won't say much more about that, but she is one of my favorite ancillary characters. Besides her cool story in the Star Wars canon, she has a really interesting aesthetic. She has orange skin with white tribal markings, tentacle-like montrals on her head, complete with blue stripes, and she's dressed vaguely samurai-esque. I found a cool pose on DeviantArt of a woman looking playful and slightly deceptive, and I thought the pose was interesting. So that's where I'm starting from. The music you're hearing is by a band called Explosions in the Sky from their 2003 record, The Earth is Not a Cold Dead Place. Right now I'm working on blocking in her clothing pattern onto the pose of the model. Working on her shoulder there, her wrist, drawing in this circular chest piece thing that she has. Working on her belt mechanism thing. You can see that I'm drawing and erasing, using kind of a semi-transparent wide pencil tool, just to kind of get the pose down, get the drawing down. Because what I'm going to do later is use this as a basis to do the inks. Draw this in a more concrete fashion. Right now this is just for, like getting the drawing down itself before we start inking and coloring it. Made some mistakes on her arm there. I put her shoulder down a little too low, so I fix that, and then that changes her whole arm. Now with her face, I don't want to get too detailed, but I would like to capture the expression. And then I'll refine that expression a little bit more when I do the inked version. Now just for fun, I'm going to start adding her stripes to her horns and montrals, which is what they're called on a Togruta species, which is what she is. The montrals are supposedly hollow, which helps them kind of use them as like echolocators. Vibrations hit them and they can sense where things are around them. It's kind of cool. I think that's a cool species idea for Star Wars. Gonna use the transform tool here to kind of make her head bigger, because she is a cartoon after all. She doesn't have the same proportions as the model does as a cartoon, so I'm tweaking with that. Kind of sketch out her mouth and eyes and nose a little bit more. This will help me later. Now typically I don't get so deep into a sketch that I start shading it or anything, but I was really having a lot of fun drawing this picture, so I just kind of kept going with the shading, using grayscale. It's actually kind of rare that I find myself spending way too much time on a sketch before wanting to get into the line art. Because usually I'm chomping at the bit to get into it, like get the finished drawing done, start coloring, start shading, stuff like that. But I was having a lot of fun with this part. Made a new layer for the line art. Switched to black on my paintbrush tool because I'm gonna start inking. using the sketch underneath as a guide. I don't have to follow it exactly, but it's there for a purpose. Trying to make her look mischievous with her expression. Ahsoka's not really one to be evil, but she is playful. So that's one thing I'm gonna have to go back to, is that I think I made her expression look like she's devious, like diabolical or something. Which was not my intention. I wanted her to look playful, kind of mischievous, as I said. So I'm adding in lines, fleshing out the sketch underneath with black lines on a layer above it. Mouths are always hard, lips are always hard. Just gotta keep working at it. Trying to figure out the curve of her head. I think I got it wrong there, actually, because that was a part that I go back to later to fix. Move her eye a little bit. That's a little better. Struggling with this bit. You'll notice I make her horns a little bit different than they are in the pictures. I just wanted to stylize them a little bit, kind of make them a little more angular, kind of more like how Maleficent was drawn in the old Disney cartoons. When you have an artistic license, you can use it to do that kind of thing. And guess what? All artists have an artistic license. So feel free to mess with stuff. man, hands and fingers and feet and toes have always been like, just the bane of my existence. So I make the fingers too fat, or I make them too knuckly, or I make them too straight. There's so many ways to go wrong with drawing a hand realistically. Yes, I'm one of those artists that likes to rotate the page a whole lot. I don't know why, I just do. I rotate it like crazy. And with Photoshop, you just hit the R key, click and drag, and then you can kind of work at it from another angle, get the correct swoops that you like. I have to expand it a little bit because the horn is cut off. We'll put this horn a little bit higher since it's closer to the camera and therefore larger. That line a few times. Hey man, that's what drawing is. You just keep doing it, keep iterating over and over and over. Until it feels right, until it looks right. Does this mess up the pose? Does this create like a weird tangent? Does this do something that you don't intend? If it does, you erase and start again. Or you just, you sketch. That's what the sketching phase is for. Try to get that as close as possible. Then you can start to ink. Like right now, that little line in her armpit is driving me nuts. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. Alright, down to the belt. Fill up the whole thing with black, then erase most of it. It's kind of the easiest way to make a circle Photoshop. But as you can see, it's not that easy, but at least the circle is nice. There, that's not too bad. Start painting in her belt. Kind of cleaning up some of these gross edges. Because that's going to be a huge step later, is cleaning up gross line edges. So the line art's looking pretty good. It's almost there. Just need to thicken some places, thin out other places. Because you kind of want the thicker lines to be where, like, you know, like an outline or a place where it is in front of another part. So like definitely her hand, which is kind of off screen right now, her hand is going to have to be thicker than that to kind of show that it's in front of her shoulder and stuff like that. But you also don't want to thicken in the wrong places. For instance, if you make a really thick looking nose or something, just for example, then it's gonna draw the nose forward and make her look like she has a big nose, big manly nose. And if that's your intention, that's good. And speaking of nose, this is the section where I struggle with her nose for a long time. I probably spent, I don't know, like way more time on this nose than I thought. When you're drawing a woman, you don't want the nose to be like really prevalent. You don't want it super, how do you put it? You don't want it like being the center of the attention of the woman's face. Because on a feminine type face, the nose tends to be, you know, at least I'm talking like art standards, not like real life. But in, say, like in a comic book or something, you want to minimize the nose because it makes the woman look a little more feminine. Whereas with a man, you can accentuate the nose quite a bit and he'll look a little more masculine. It's all about what you're trying to do. Same with things like jaw lines. If you're drawing a woman in a comic book with a huge wide jaw, she's gonna look more masculine. And that's cool if that's what you're going for. But typically you're wanting women to look feminine, you know, especially if they're imaginary. which they would be in a comic book. So here I start cleaning up lines. We're gonna get this line drawing ready to go so that we can start painting color underneath. Looking at Ahsoka's headpiece there. Not exactly right. I'll go back. But you know, that's what drawing is. You kind of keep working at it. Kind of, you're massaging, kind of pushing things into place or pulling them out. You're not gonna have like a set in stone drawing right away. Gotta move stuff around. Like that, I thought was in the wrong place, so I moved it. Thicken the lines around the edges of the hand. Trying to fix this, trying to fix the tangent that I created where all four lines come together at the same point. It's really bothering me. That helped a lot. Just cleaning up lines that look kind of like weird and squirrely and squiggly to me. We're gonna thicken up this Leku, or no, that's Twi'leks. This Montron. Now here I'm just trying to smooth out the outer lines while thickening them up. Not sure why I did that. But hey, you make a lot of mistakes when you're drawing. Then sometimes you go back later and fix them. Sometimes you miss them. There's a lot to take in at all times. So I wanted to make this shoulder thicker because it's an outward line. Alright, her horn needs a little work. It's a little rough looking still, so we're going to smooth it out. Give it a more angular kind of thing by using the erase button and the shift delete function. Or shift eraser, I guess would be more accurate. Because the shift eraser tends to erase in straight lines. Or that's what it does. That's the function of it. I'm gonna start normally, I would think this would be a mistake to make her jawline and chin too dark, but I have the idea in my head that underneath her chin is going to be in shadow, so I'm preparing that. I experimented with making a straight line between the bridge of her nose to her eyebrow, and I went back and forth on this a few times. I don't know, it looked too angry or something. I didn't like it, so I took it off. And there we go. Our sketch turned into a line drawing of Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars. Next episode, we will be probably continuing to kind of refine the line drawing, but also we're going to start coloring. We're going to do the color flats, by which I mean the flat colors, which will then be shaded later. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in next time and we'll continue our progress on this drawing. See you then.